The big society attracts big reactions and responses from all strata of society, but the government has never lost faith in David Cameron's big idea since it was first aired back in 2005. For the big society concept to work, it needs to embed itself into the structure and systems of corporate Britain, and in so doing it needs to win over hearts and minds right across the related sectors coming under the broad umbrella of the voluntary sector. Social enterprises and social entrepreneurs alike are looking for direction from the government as to how they can participate in the big society vision. Now, with funding schemes, loans and grants materialising, in many ways the buck stops with the Minister for Civil Society, Nick Hurd. So we've come along to the Ministry to ask him to explain how the big society is balancing its beliefs with the realities of today's business climate for the key players it relies upon to make it work. Minister, the launch of Big Society initially received a frosty reception from those who felt it was a vision that was simply about maintaining much valued services and much needed services for free. But 2 years on, do you feel that you've changed hearts and minds?
I think that what I've observed are some very encouraging things. Giving, both of time and money, has stayed pretty stable in very difficult times. There's a lot of interest in the social investment initiative that we're taking. We're seeing a lot of interest of people in the new powers and rights and opportunities we're transferring through things like the localism bill. We're getting parents setting up free schools, getting the public very engaged with crime maps and more information. So I think it's a start of a journey. We're trying to change a culture that has built up over a long period of time of arguably putting too much power and dependency on the state, and so this is going to take a bit of time, but I think we've made a good start.
Initiatives such as the Big Society Investment Fund, and we've got the imminent launch of the bank, Big Society Capital, these are gathering pace. How strategic do you think these two developments are?
Oh, I think they're hugely important, and they're a very good example of something very specific and tangible as part of the sort of Big Society agenda. And through Big Society Capital, we will be launching the world's first social investment bank. People have been talking about it for 10 years. We're actually doing it, and it will have, over 3 or 4 years, around £600 million of capital to invest. And through this process, we want to achieve two things. We want to make it easier for social entrepreneurs, people with new ideas, to access capital. And we want to make it easier and give savers in this country more opportunities to make a social contribution on the basis that they can invest. They get a chance of getting their money back or making a small financial profit, but at the same time make a social impact. And if we can prove that concept of social investment, then I think we can establish a hugely important pillar of funding for social enterprises and charities and the not-for-profit sector in this country, which urgently needs capital.
We wanted to ask you what difference you think the world's first social stock exchange will make to social entrepreneurs in this country.
Well, I think it's all bending in the same direction, which is, what can we do to support the social sector in this country? What can we do to support the social entrepreneurs, the innovators, the people who've got good ideas for doing things in better ways? And they need capital more than anything else. So we want to grow the social investment market. We want to encourage savers to play their part in supporting social entrepreneurs. But that market needs infrastructure, like the traditional financial market. And so a social stock exchange, however early days it is, and it is very early, could be an important part of that infrastructure, a place where social enterprises can share information about what they're doing and access capital and trade shares, whatever the vision is. But just as in the traditional market, a stock exchange plays a fundamental role in providing liquidity and opportunities for companies to raise capital, then so, in theory, a social stock exchange could provide the same thing for social enterprises.
We asked Paul Gibson, National Charity Specialist with Mazars, about the importance of the government getting Big Society Capital right.
It's really important that government does get it right, and I think they've done a good job so far. Big Society Capital is objective, it's independent, and it's transparent, it's going to play a really important job in building the social investment movement in this country. As an example of how well it's working in practice, I'm involved with the social stock exchange. We've just received an investment from Big Society Capital of £850,000. That's a permanent investment, doesn't have to be paid back, and it's going to mean that that stock exchange can help grow the businesses of social entrepreneurs for a long, long time to come.
We also asked Campbell Fleming, Head of Distribution and Threadneedle Investments, for his opinion on whether tax breaks really incentivise the rich to give to charities.
Well, look, there's been some initiatives that it's tried, and some people argue that people invest with their brain and perhaps donate with their hearts. But the reality is, I think, if you at least set the structure up where the wealthy can perhaps direct where some of their earnings and their wealth goes, as opposed to having it taken by government to spend, then I believe that you might be able to get people to start thinking and giving at the same time.
Well, and I'd make 2 points on that. First of all, I don't think people give money away for tax reasons. And I think, in my experience, most people who are connected with philanthropy or regular givers do it because they have an emotional connection. Of course, they want to put something back, they want to make a difference. But obviously, if there is a tax break, that can make it even more attractive. So, as I said, George Osborne introduced I think a very powerful, significant incentive on legacies, which I think, in combination with other measures, we think will be worth around £600 million over this Parliament to the sector. And you asked about tax breaks for social investment and social enterprises. Well, the government is reviewing a current tax incentive, which is called Community Interest Tax Relief, CITR, and that consultation is ongoing at the moment.
Where's the next big push for Big Society coming from, and any initiatives in this pipeline?
Well, I mean, there's lots of absolutely fascinating stuff, some of which government is doing, some of which is being led outside government. Entirely right. Outside government, one of the most interesting things that I'm observing and we're supporting with some cash is an initiative led by business in the community, who said we know that businesses want to do more in their community, but are not being asked in the right way. These connections aren't working at the local level in the right way. So why don't we invest in people? They're calling business connectors, seconded from businesses like Sainsbury's and Greggs and BT, to actually work in the community, to go around and find out what people need and start making better connections between local businesses and local community groups and voluntary groups. And it's just starting. We're starting small but thinking big, but it's already in places like Tottenham and Redcar. Fantastic things are happening just by these connections being made to work much better. It just proves to me that there's a huge amount of interest out there in getting more involved in making communities better places to live and work. People just haven't been asked in the right way. And through this process of business connectors and community organisers that we're investing, we think these connections will start to work much, much better, and some fantastic things will happen.
Nick Hurd, Minister for Civil Society, thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you.